Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Dr. Stacy Heinberger, and this is Weight Loss Made Simple. Today, I want to talk about my biggest breakthroughs in my 90-pound weight loss journey. And none of them happened in the kitchen. They all happened in my mindset. I want to share sort of the top three that were a little unexpected, but really changed everything. So if you're expecting like this is going to be cut carbs or count calories or something, that's not what it's going to be about. I want to tell you what changed for me that I continue to implement in all different ways of my life. And weight loss was kind of just the cherry on top, really. So let's get into it and let's talk about it. So I've worked with so many women. And while I am so happy to give tactical tips and tricks and give you specific advice about food and nutrition, really it all starts with our mindset. And the first one for me really was this idea of planning and planning being self-care. So lesson number one, planning is not punishment. Planning is self-care. It is a love letter to your future self. Okay. So I first started planning dinners because I really felt like I would do fine all day long. And I think these three lessons are with any food plan that you choose, right? We're so inundated with so many rules. So I think these three mindset shifts can work with any food plan that you want. And these are going to be the key to successful long-term weight loss. So number one being planning is self-care. So I used to plan dinners. And so when I decided that I wanted to give up sugar, because I wanted to be less hungry, and I thought, like, let's try it. Let's see. I sat down with my husband and I came up with like 15 dinners that were easy, that were fast, and that were no sugar or low sugar and mostly protein veg. So we just recycled those. I actually printed out a calendar and I wrote them on there, and I wrote days for leftovers. Well, these are the things I learned. At first, I didn't leave room for leftovers. Now I know I need to leave room for leftovers. And we didn't even, like, the kids weren't involved in a lot of stuff. So there weren't typically a lot of obstacles. But now when I do this, I know the obstacles. So I will plan dinners knowing that we've got a sports game one night, or we're going to be out one night, or whatever plans we have. So I sort of sketch in a Monday through Friday of generally what I think we're going to have. And then I try and cook something we can, eat all weekend. So I try and plan those out. And then I look for any obstacles. So I get a basic list. I look for obstacles in our week. Like, does someone have a late meeting? Am I going to be at the hospital late? Do the kids have a game? Whatever. And then I play it like a little board game, right? And I just shuffle all the pieces around so that it makes sense. So I'm not going to pick something that takes a long time to cook on a day that I'm going to be at the hospital late, and Quad's going to be at work late, right? Because neither of us are going to be home to cook it, so that's not going to work, right? That was one of the pitfalls of when you're planning and things don't go as planned. So you try and anticipate as many obstacles as you can, and so I would try and anticipate, and then move it around. The other thing that I did in our planning phase was figure out, when the plan goes wrong, what are the backup options? What are the safety nets? And so that was taking a look around and what type of backup meals could I have? Could I have something in the freezer that was ready to go? Where could we get takeout from? Where could we get grab and go? And this just really made such a difference. I really think this was a number one reason why I started to see real weight loss happen. It's because the consistency at the end of the day was what was missing. And I think that's what's missing for most people, because we get so beat up by our day that we are just frustrated and tired and stressed. And we have so many feelings by the end of the day that dinner is like the one that breaks the camel's back, right? The straw that breaks the camel's back. It's like, don't ask me what's for dinner, just order something. Or I'm going to eat what I plan, but I'm going to eat too much of it. Or I'm going to pair that with 2 glasses of wine because my day has been so bad. So I really started to feel like these planned dinners, especially when it was one like I knew I was going to be working late, but Quad was going to be at home. I could say, like, you're in charge of cooking this meal. Like, I would just write it on the calendar, literally, like, you're cooking this night, and here's like what we're having. And then I would get home and it would be done. And it was such a relief. It was so nice. And I don't know who said it to me, if it was another coach, but it was like I had taken care of myself already. It was like me now, new future me, was going to have a shitty day at some point, and I can take care of her now by planning a dinner that will be ready for her, either by putting it in the freezer or by having someone else cook it or by knowing what my takeout options are. So I could give this love letter to myself of taking care of me even on my worst day in just a few minutes of planning. I will say what I learned about planning too is that our brain wants to tell us that it's going to take so long, and it literally takes less than 5 minutes to run through your head and figure out 3 to 4 meals to make in a week. Because if you have leftovers, that's all you really need is 3 or 4. Okay. We don't need 7. Our brain wants to say that we need 7. We do not. There's always going to be a leftover day. So we need like 3 or 4, and that's it. And so if we're doing sort of Taco Tuesday, like now we're down to needing 2 to 3. So our brain wants to make it really difficult, but it's really, really not that hard. And when you start this idea of, my food does not need to be overly exciting. Like, I don't need to be making new meals every night. I can just recycle our favorites for now, right? While I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds, while I'm trying to reestablish a healthy routine, while I'm trying to do this, I don't need to be eating something different every night of the week, 7 days a week for a month. I can recycle and reuse and repeat meals, and it's fine and it's good and it's easy. Then grocery shopping becomes easier, and cooking becomes easier, and cleanup becomes easier, and it all just becomes easy. So we don't have to overhaul our whole life for this. We just need to take 5 minutes and pick a couple of meals that we want to make next week. And every meal that we can plan ahead of time is just this really nice treat that you're doing for yourself, so that when you're stressed out at the end of the day and things have not gone as planned, because, like, spoiler alert, they never do. Life never goes as planned. It's like, then you're ready for it and you have something, and it's there and it's healthy and it's good. I will say the one thing that I'm trying to implement that I've been talking to some of my clients about when we talk about food prepping is trying to prep one extra, right? So if I'm going to food prep and I'm going to make 3 servings, making 4 servings, and taking that extra serving and put it in the freezer and writing it down. But this is the crucial step that I really want to try and implement from my own family, and I've been encouraging for my clients, is to then go to your calendar and write that down. So if I make an extra batch of salsa chicken and I have it in the freezer and it's ready to go, not only do I need to kind of write what it is so that I can know what it is when I open my freezer, but I can go to my calendar and just write it on there for a day. Especially, like, we just did all of this travel to pick up kids from camp, and school's going to be starting soon. And so I can look at that calendar a few weeks ahead of time and see a week that maybe got travel in it, or maybe like kids are going back to school. There's a big routine shift, and maybe I write it on there for then. So I know, like, I don't even have to worry about food prep for that week, right? Maybe I don't even have to plan my meals for the week they go back to school. Maybe I can do that in the month leading up to it and just make an extra. Okay, so planning is just such a beautiful thing to do for yourself. And our brain, for some reason, really wants to make it hard and tells us it's like the worst and we can't be spontaneous, and tells us all these bad things about planning. But planning your meals ahead of time is just a beautiful, like, lovely self-care thing you're doing for future you. And future you will thank you, because I have thanked past me many times for taking care of me and having dinner ready. It's just been such a relief. the worse the day, the more meaningful this can be, because that's when it really just takes such a weight off to know that you have already taken care of yourself. It's like you already knew you were going to need that. How nice of you, right? So I love that. So the next lesson I learned was about asking better questions. Okay. So I used to just beat myself up about like why I couldn't figure out weight loss. And I would just here's the thing about asking questions. Your brain's going to want to answer, right? So if I ask the question, like, why can't you figure this out? Like, why are you, like, you're smart with everything else. Why can't you be smart with this? If I ask those really sort of mean, negative questions, my brain is going to be like, right back. I've been waiting for you to ask, right? And it's going to go and it's going to find all the answers to those questions. And it's going to tell me all the times I didn't know what I was talking about and all the times I wasn't smart. And every time since I was like 3 years old that I couldn't figure something out, right? It's like it's been waiting. It's such a bully sometimes, right? It's been waiting for me to say what's wrong with me, right? Why can't I? Why do I keep messing this up? Why can't I succeed? It's also very like extreme, all or nothing. Like I'll never figure this out. Why? Like what? Why? Right? What is wrong with me? And instead start to ask better questions like what would it look like if it was easy? That might be the number one question that really just started my momentum wheel going was what would it look like if it was easy? If I want to try something new and different and I want to just be open and curious and run a new experiment on myself of what will happen if I change it up a little bit and I want to eat healthy and I want to move more, what does easy look like? So it's this curiosity over criticism. And if we're going to ask our brain to figure stuff out, let's ask it really good questions. So what could make this easier for me? What would giving up sugar look like? What 3 months seems like a long time, but let me just try it and see what happens. What would happen if I didn't have dessert after dinner? What would happen if I didn't snack? How would that be easy? Like this real curious question. And it's almost always, I think, if we just ask, what would make it easy? Like, what would make this okay? What would make this feel good? What would make this not feel hard? And you'd be amazed at what your brain can come up with. So it really is just about asking these better questions. And it doesn't just change your day, right? It's not just about that. But when we get in this habit of asking ourselves better questions, it can really start to rewire your identity in a way. So instead of always, being like Eeyore, like, I'm bad, what's wrong with me, right? Where your brain's, you're constantly asking it to find all these negative things about you. If you're asking with this curiosity and optimism, these new questions, like what would happen? Like, what would make that easy? What would it look like if it was easy? What if I do succeed? Like, what is future me? Like, what happens to her if I do this and I keep trying and I figure it out? That curiosity and that open-mindedness and that willingness to try new things is so dramatically different than Eeyore just like beating ourselves up. So not only can it change your day and change your weight loss and change what you're willing to try, but it 100% can change how you face the future and rewire your identity. I love the idea that that's what it's doing, to make us a person who is willing to try and be curious and just keep going, right? Tenacity is an amazing skill or identity to have, just knowing that that's part of your character. And anyone who's been struggling with weight loss, like, I got news for you. You are tenacious, right? If you're anywhere near my age and you've been trying to lose weight for a while and you're listening to my podcast because you're like, let me try something new, you are tenacious. And so recognizing that and having that curiosity and that open-mindedness and that willingness to just keep going till you figure it out is amazing. Like, I love it. I love it. All right, number 3. And none of these should be totally new to you guys either, because I know I've talked about these things before. But number 3, I really had to change my self-talk. I was such a jerk to myself. Like, I'm embarrassed to say out loud the thoughts that ran through my head about myself. Because I would never talk to anyone else the way I used to talk to myself. And our internal dialogue makes a difference. And it will affect you. And it will affect the outcomes of anything you're trying to do, not just weight loss. But if you are being a total jerk, like just think about that. If you were trying to learn something new and you went to a coach and you're like, hey, I want to learn this new thing. Like, I want to learn how to play basketball. And all day long, that coach was like, you suck. Like, you can't even dribble. You're like, this is awful. Why are you even doing this? You can't learn anything new. Like, we would fire that coach and we'd never learn basketball, right? Like, you can't just berate yourself all day long and expect to succeed with anything. But especially if you're talking negative to yourself about your body, your weight loss, your ability to figure this out, that internal dialogue is going to 100% affect your outcome. And I never took the time to understand that before in any of my prior attempts to lose weight. I didn't understand that that connection was there. I didn't realize how much power I had over my internal dialogue. And I think it's because I didn't really fully listen to it. That awareness, when you really start to listen to how you're talking about yourself, to yourself, it's kind of like a big dirty closet. Like, we don't always like to look in there. It's because it's harsh, right? And when we realize that's been sabotaging us, that feels bad too, right? It's like, oh my God, I have been beating myself up. I have been a total jerk to myself. I have 100% been sabotaging myself with the nasty shit that I talk to myself. Like, it's not always fun to realize that. So this internal dialogue that we have can either support us or sabotage us. And mine was 100% sabotaging me. And that internal dialogue was sort of the same thing that was asking terrible questions too, right? So not only was it telling me horrible things, like I was horrible and I was disgusting and I couldn't, then it was like, you can't even, like, why can't you figure this out? Like, what is wrong with you? Then it starts to tell you, like, everyone else is thinking that about you too, right? Like, they're looking at you like you shouldn't wear that. Nobody wants to see your fat on the beach, whatever it is, right? That internal dialogue, she's a little bit of a bitch, right? She's nasty. And that inner voice was constantly going, like, all day long. It started when I would wake up, right? First thing you'd look in the mirror, like, ugh, oh my God, you're like, you're going to go, we have so much to work with. There's not enough makeup, right? So when your day starts like that, how do you think the rest is going to go? And I know I'm not the only one, so I really want you to hear me when I say this. We cannot talk bad to ourselves all day long and expect to be successful in anything that we do. Not just weight loss, anything, right? So it starts when you look in the mirror. Then it starts when you go to pick out your clothes. Maybe you got naked to get in the shower, God forbid, and caught a glimpse of yourself in the mirror. Like, that'll get you through the whole shower of just talking total shit to yourself the whole time. Then you get out and then you're trying to put on clothes. And most of us haven't cultivated a closet where we even have things that fit because we don't like the size or whatever else. So then we go try things on in the closet and they don't fit or we don't like the way they look. And so that negative self-talk and all the mean things we say about that is going to get us all the way through getting dressed, probably all the way to when we start putting our makeup on, where we can say a bunch of other mean things about our face and everything else. Brushing our teeth, we don't like how white they are or how straight they are or something else. And then it just continues from there. But by the time we've sort of left our room to start our day, it would not surprise me if I had already had 200 nasty ass thoughts about myself. I was so mean to myself. So what do I expect is going to happen? How are you going to walk into work like that? Like, do you think you're going to walk in confident with your head held high when you've said 200 mean things to yourself just getting ready? Like, in the hour that you've gotten ready, like you're already like you've already been through 9 rounds of boxing with yourself and you are not winning. So it makes total sense. By the end of the day, you're just like, forget it. Like, I'll just eat whatever is going to make me feel better, because I've been a total jerk to myself all day long. I think this is so much harder if you are a smart person, because we're used to like thinking our brain knows what it's talking about. So when it's saying all that, we kind of believe it. We're like, well, I'm saying it must be true, right? It's not. Like, it is just used to doing it, and we have to start rewiring it. So changing my inner voice where it could at least get, like, just stop being such a jerk. Like, if you're saying 200 mean things, imagine if you were only saying 50 mean things. But like, you'd feel like you were having a great day walking on cloud 9, headed out the door to work. If you have decreased the mean things that you've said to yourself by that amount. And if you could get to a point where like you don't say anything mean to yourself, imagine what your day would look like. Imagine how you would feel like you could conquer the world. And you would never talk to your friends like that the way you talk to yourself. Ever. Because no one will be friends with you, because that person is a jerk. All right? So, my self-talk does not necessarily, like, I'm not asking you to be a motivational speaker in your mind, right? My self-talk is not always great, but I am not mean to myself like I was before. I kind of like zero tolerance. And they'll sneak in there, right? They'll sneak in, and it might be the first thing that pops up, but now I can recognize it and shut it down. Be like, no, we're not going to talk like that. Okay, we might not have anything nice to say, but we're not going to say anything at all. We're going to go good old Southern rules. You ain't got anything nice to say, you shut your mouth. Don't say anything. Okay, so these 3 mindset shifts: planning is not punishment, it's self-care. Ask better questions. What would it look like if it was easy? And changing my inner voice to stop being negative changed my life. None of that was about food. Not one of those 3 things had anything to do with food. But it all made picking healthy food and treating myself nicer with nicer food and nicer movement and all of that all became 1,000 times easier when I started doing those 3 things. So I would love for you to just let me know which one of those resonates most with you. Please reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Please forward this to someone who you think it might be helpful for. And if you would rate and review the podcast, I would love that. Until next week, I'll see you. Bye.